Welcome to the UFC Abu Dhabi Prop Drop, where I briefly go over the entire card once again for you guys, but honing in on the props that I like for the winners and the losers in case you're looking for a hedge opportunity if you find yourself too exposed on one side of a fight. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. First matchup up takes place in the heavyweight division where we got Martin Buday welcoming high-level BJJ ace Marcus Buchecha to the UFC. I am leaning with Buday to win this matchup. I think his 100% takedown defense rate will once again hold up here against Buchecha, and I think he'll force Buchecha to strike with him, rough him up in the clinch, rough him up against the cage, slow him down, and I think this will produce a late finish for Martin Buday. I'm going to go Martin Buday round 3 at plus 2,700. You can get a little bit greedier if you want, and you can go Martin Buday round 3 knockout plus 3,400. I think is definitely worth it as well. On the flip side for Buchecha, I think if he gets this done, it comes early. Round 1 Buchecha is plus 200. Round 1 Buchecha submission is plus 260. So that's the hedge that I would kind of consider if you find yourself on the Buday side. All right, next up, we got Stephen Nguyen going up against Mohamed Yahya. Very weird, flaky fight from either guy. I'm picking Nguyen to win. Just not trustworthy at that chalky line that he's at. You know, this is a very weird fight. Both guys have been dominated in past fights, especially Nguyen, who got outstruck by Jarno Aarons in his last UFC appearance. I'm expecting this fight to go to the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 155. I think Nguyen gets it done by decision, which you can get at plus 270. And on the flip side, if Yahya is able to dictate the pace, get to his wrestling, and mix it up enough for him to win by decision, you can get at plus 600. All right, next up, we got a car crash of a matchup here between Ivo Aslan and Billy Elekana. Seems like the public is fully on the Ivo Aslan side, but this reminds me of the Justin Tafa and Tuko Tokos fight from a couple weeks back, where you got a grappler or a guy that's more keen to grappling against a power striker, and the grappler was able to pull it off. And I'm in the same line of thinking with this matchup, but regardless who ends up winning, I think the victor will be able to get that dub under 1.5 rounds, which you can currently get at minus 125. But I am leaning with Elekana. I think Elekana by submission is the best way to go in this matchup, which you can currently get at plus 950. Getting a little greedier, round 1 submission plus 2,100 for Billy Elekana. And then on the flip side, if Aslan wins, it's probably by round 1 knockout, which you can get at plus 190. All right, next up, we got Amanda Ribas going up against Tabitha Ricci. Public loves them some Ribas here. I'm ever so slightly on the Ricci side, and I'm waiting for that money line to balloon up a little bit more. I feel like we might be able to get plus 200, so I'll probably stay pretty on the money line. But in terms of the props, neither woman's finishing each other, right? Neither woman has crazy knockout power. They're both BJJ black belts. I think a lot of this fight ends up taking place on the mat with Ricci on top, and I think she ends up grinding this out and winning it on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 220. On the flip side, for Ribas to win by decision, you're looking at plus 100. All right, next up, we got Damon Blackshear going up against Davy Grant. I'm a big Davy Grant supporter. You know, he's cashed some underdog tickets for me, most notably last time around against up-and-coming prospect Ramon Tavares. But Grant was able to showcase his veterancy, mix it up in the pocket with his opponent, and almost double or triple him on significant strikes to win that fight on the scorecards. But I think he's going to struggle to do that here against Blackshear, who should do a great job in terms of picking Grant apart from distance and eventually changing levels, getting this fight to the ground. And I think we eventually see Blackshear pull off a submission, which is where the majority of the losses on Grant's record have come from. You can get Blackshear to win by submission at plus 220. On the flip side, I think Grant has some underrated power, especially with the amount that he likes to mix it up in the pocket. If he can engage Blackshear in the pocket a little bit here, he might be able to land that power and put him out. And you can get Grant to win by knockout at plus 900. And just taking both of those into consideration, you could also get the under 2.5 at plus 105, which may not end up being a bad spot to target. Our next up, we got big favorite here, Carlos Leal going up against Muslim Salikhov. I really expect Leal to dictate the pace here, march Salikhov down, utilize his speed and power advantage, and I think that will eventually translate to a knockout victory for the Brazilian fighter, which you can currently get at minus 130. On the flip side, if Salikhov wins, maybe his movement and kung fu style is able to allow him to land more damage on Leal, picking him apart from distance and winning this fight on the scorecards, which you can currently get at plus 850. Or if Salikhov is able to come through with another nasty spinning back kick, you might be able to land cleanly on Leal and put him out that way, which you can get Salikhov to win by knockout at plus 800. All right, next up in the bantamweight division, we got Saeed Nurmagomedov going up against newly minted bantamweight here, Bryce Mitchell, who's coming down from 145 pounds after a loss earlier this year to Gene Silva. He's only taken about 3 months to make this cut down. I don't know if he'll be able to make it safely and healthy. Not to mention, you have to travel across the world to try to get to this fight anyway. So that's a bit of a concern there. But a lot of people thinking that Mitchell will be able to out-wrestle and out-grind Nurmagomedov. And it's possible. You can get Mitchell to win by decision at plus 160. But I think he ends up making a mistake. And I think we see Nurmagomedov snatch that front choke series that he loves so much that we just saw Mitchell get caught in by Gene Silva. And you can get Nurmagomedov to win by submission at plus 390. All right, next up, we got Nikita Krylov going up against Bogdan Guskov in this light heavyweight matchup. And I'm leaning with Krylov's wrestle heavy approach. I expect him to ground Guskov and keep him there for the majority of this matchup. And I'm kind of surprised to see this number where it is, but I think a lot of people are expecting knockouts or at least a finish and violence in this matchup, considering the way these guys fight. But I think a lot of this is going to come down to Krylov grounding Guskov and keeping him there. I think we're going to see continued improved submission defense from Guskov, as we've seen in a couple of his last fights. And I think this fight will end up hitting the scorecards, but I think it's going to be Krylov who ends up winning it due to his control time, which you can get for him to win by decision at plus 700. In case Krylov does snatch on a submission and force the tap from Guskov, you can get Krylov by decision at plus 220. And then if Guskov is able to fend off the grappling of Krylov and force him to strike with him, Guskov can win by knockout, which you can find at plus 270. All right, next up, high-level flyweight matchup here. Very excited about this one, where we got Almabayev taking on short notice replacement Jose Ochoa, who is fresh off of a knockout victory from Cody Durden, I believe from just last month or maybe 2 months ago at this point. But Almabayev obviously looking to bounce back after that short notice main event spot that he had against Manel Kape. And I think this is a spot where he can remind people that he is still one of the best flyweights on the planet. I know his striking didn't look that great against Kape, and Ochoa is a solid striker, very aggressive, but I don't think that he has the technical chops and power that Kape had, and I think that will allow Almabayev to get to his game a little bit easier. I think Almabayev will strike with Ochoa for a little bit and eventually look to get this to the ground and then just get to that classic Almabayev grind, chain wrestling, mat returns, cage clinch, top control. Almabayev by decision, plus 160. On the flip side, Ochoa, if he wins, probably comes by finish, but I'd be surprised if he is able to get there. Ochoa by knockout is plus 350. Ochoa by submission is plus 1200 in case Almabayev finds himself slacking here. Maybe Ochoa snatches up his neck, but I'd be very surprised if a guy like Almabayev ends up getting submitted here. All right, next up, we got Shara Bullet Magomedov going up against Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm expecting Magomedov to showcase his power striking approach pretty early here. I don't think Barriault will be able to handle it. I think it's just a matter of time before Magomedov lands that big shot to put him out. You can get Magomedov to win by knockout at minus 135. You can get him to win by round one knockout at plus 250, which is not bad. And then on the flip side, if Barriault's chin and durability holds up, and he's able to put Magomedov through the ringer here, I don't think he finishes him. I think he outgrinds him and wins this on the scorecards, which you can get for Barriault to win by decision at plus 1100. All right, co-main event now, where we're going to be talking about a bantamweight fixture between former champion Petr Yan and rising prospect Marcus McGhee. We know about the slow starting nature of Yan, and I think that makes McGhee very live to pull off the upset here. If he can get off enough work in the first and second rounds, you can get him to win by decision at plus 500. I do believe in Jan's ability to snatch the momentum of this matchup by that second round and really win those second and third rounds decisively. And you can get him to win by decision at -145. A little bit chalky, but I think if you're going to pick Jan to win, I think that's how he wins. I think McGhee will be tough to put away. Yeah, look for Jan to win this on the scorecards. But again, that money line is a little bit too chalky considering how close Jan often makes fights, especially when they're 3-rounders like this one is. All right, that brings us to our middleweight main event as we have former champion Robert the Reaper Whittaker taking on Reinier de Ridder, who's been absolutely streaking since joining the UFC roster. But I think his hype train comes to a screeching halt in this matchup against former champion Robert Whittaker. I think we'll see great takedown defense from Whittaker. I know he'll be at a height and reach disadvantage here, but I think his speed will make up for that, not to mention his striking advantage. And I think that will allow him to pick de Ridder apart. And I think that leads to Robert Whittaker getting a knockout victory, which you can get at +170. I'm thinking this happens in the latter half of the fight. So round 3 knockout, +1300, round 4 knockout, +1800, and round 5 knockout, +2100. De Ridder has shown, even in his fights against Anatoly Malikin in the ONE FC promotion, if he can't get to his wrestling game and he eats enough damage, he will more than likely roll over and give up. And I think that's what's going to end up happening here. If de Ridder wins, probably comes by sub, which you can get at +310. But I'd kind of be surprised if Whittaker finds himself in a compromising enough position for de Ridder to make that happen. All right. Let's get to the top 3 prop spots and long shot that we got for UFC Abu Dhabi. Quick recap of last weekend's. We get reverse swept again. Marvin Vettori by decision +280. Brendan Allen showcasing much better striking than I expected him to. Kevin Holland by knockout +195. Who the hell expected Danny Rodriguez to do that to Kevin Holland? Dustin Poirier by decision +370. Looks like Max Holloway was able to make up some of the the issues that he had in the first 2 matchups against Poirier. Is what it is. We have to rip out that ticket. And then our long shot. Vinicius Oliveira round 3 knockout +2000. I felt like he could have hit the gas a little bit more there to try to cash that for us. It was clear he won the second and third rounds, but I thought he'd be able to get the finish, and I thought that was a damn good line to make the long shot. So we have to rip up our ticket there, unfortunately. All right, let's get to the top 3 that we got for UFC Abu Dhabi. First one up is going to be Nikita Krylov by decision +700. We're getting risky there. Second one, we're going to go Asu Almabayev by decision +160. Then we're going to go Sharo Magomedov round 1 knockout +240. And then the long shot, we're going to go, you can either go Billy Elekana by sub +950. But officially, for the record keeping for this segment, I'm going to go Elekana round 1 sub +2100. There you guys go. Prop drop. And all the good stuff has been dropped for UFC Abu Dhabi. At this point in time, I will likely be traveling when you guys are watching this video, and I'll be gone all next week, but I will be dropping breakdowns as usual. I'm going to try to record my UFC Vegas 108 breakdown before I fly out of here, and then have that scheduled to drop for Sunday. And then the rest of the content for next week, including the PFL card, will pretty much just be audio only. So you'll just have a still image, and then I'll record it on probably a shitty microphone, whatever it is, but I'll still get that content and predictions out for you guys. So don't fret, but good luck on all your action this weekend. We got UFC Abu Dhabi in the morning. We got LFA 213 in the evening. I got my LFA breakdown out for you guys earlier on Thursday, so you can check that out on the YouTube page, or you can find all the tracked plays on the MMA LOTN Patreon page. Link for that is in the description below. Otherwise, good luck on all your action, and I'll see you guys again for the UFC Vegas 108 breakdowns, probably Sunday or Monday. Peace.